On this episode of Take This Down, I sit down with Traci Berry, CEO of New Heights Adult High School. You're going to want to take this down. You're going to want to take this down. Well, Traci, I want to thank you for first being here today, but more importantly, agreeing to sit down and have this conversation with me. A conversation I've been looking forward to, having the opportunity to see you up and close and leading New Heights. Not that I want to get too far into, our conversation, but thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you, Tom. I'm excited to talk about the work we do and the impact we're having in Fort Worth.
Okay. So I like to always ask my guests, who is Traci Berry at her core?
Oh my God, right away. That goes deep. I'm a family person. So I would say my core family is everything to me, my family, but also this idea that families are important to a lot of people in community and what I can do in my personal life to support my kids, but also the people around me and the work that I do. It all drives to that. That's the most important thing to me.
You speak about family. So, growing up, how was your family dynamic?
Crazy. I have a crazy, huge family, all from Chicago. So they're just kind of crazy Chicago people. And we've all scattered since then. But I had, parents who did not go to college. My dad dropped out of high school because he had 8 brothers and sisters and had to go to work, and he ended up going to the military. So neither of my parents went to college, but they really supported us kids and giving us opportunities that we had to pursue our dreams. And that's, I'm really grateful for that. And, that's kind of work that I want to keep doing for my kids, or set an example for that. They weren't, they fun, loving household, but lots of, things, issues that families face all the time. But at the end of the day, they did what they needed to do for us. Gotcha.
And so you say they did a lot to help you pursue your dreams. So was your dream to one day sit across from me and have this interview growing up?
Absolutely. Without question. That is what I dreamed about.
So what were your dreams growing up?
To own the Denver Broncos.
Oh, okay. It's not too late. I actually wanted to, originally I thought I wanted to be a journalist, and that's what I thought I was going to go to school for. And I just, I was kind of one of those kids in college who tried different things, which is what I think college should be these days, right. Is really the idea of learning to learn and exploration. And I think everything that I've actually done in my life has been by accident. Everything, it's kind of one of those things, when you make a plan, God's just going to laugh at you because It doesn't work out that way. But it's worked out actually better than I imagined. So if I remember correctly, you went to USC for undergrad.
I did. Yes.
Did you know what you wanted to be? Was it just, okay, I'm going here to figure out how to own the Denver Broncos, or was it I'm journalist and then go from there?
I think it was journalism is why I started. And then I actually had a really amazing political science professor who, it was Introduction to Constitutional Law. And he really introduced me to the law and I think our rights and what's possible in politics. And that actually got me excited about an internship. And so I started interning for a congressional candidate, and just that kind of actually spurred my love of politics. And what I learned from that is it's not the politics that I love, it's policy. But politics are a necessary evil of policy and change and good work.
Did you ultimately ever pursue a full-time career in policy?
I did. And so when I graduated from school, I ended up graduating political science and philosophy degree, of which I would never tell my children to do now, because I don't know if that creates a job or not. And then a minor in actually constitutional law. And I went to Washington, D.C., and I did the thing that a lot of kids do at 22 is you work your way up the hill. And so I got the how it worked in DC, and then works for a think tank, learning how to write policy, influence policy, and again, politics is part of that. And then had the opportunity to work on some campaigns and influence some work that way.
Gotcha. How was it, being on the Hill in your early 20s, not concerned about money, just about doing what's right for the people of the United States?
Well, we made no money, so they don't pay you much to work on the Hill. So I think it was fun. It was energizing and feeling like you got to be part of it. And so it wasn't about the money. It was working hard, meeting people. I think that was where I learned that networking is everything. You never know who you're going to meet. So actually behave properly, because you never know who you're going to run into at any point in time. But also just the exposure that we had as young people to the system and the opportunities we had. It was really fun and enlightening. And I'm really thankful to say, even all those experiences, I'm still not jaded. Things have gotten crazy a little bit in this country, but I still have hope.
I couldn't help but think about, as you're saying, you're being there, you're in the rooms. I'm a big Hamilton geek, and I couldn't think about, well, you got to be in the room when it happens.
It is like that. And I always say it's the sausage, and the sausage is not pretty. No. But it's part of it. And so you have to be willing to get dirty in the work and bring up ideas. And it's never your first idea. It's usually your 100th idea that's the one that gets through. But you just got to have tenacity to keep working at it. And that's the one thing we learned, I think. The best lesson I learned being on the Hill is to not give up, to keep at it, because at some point your idea will get heard. It just might take a really long time.
Right. It kind of takes me to, a large part of our conversation today. What is adult high school?
Adult high school, it's a newer concept. That's actually old. So there used to be opportunities for people across the country to pursue education. And somehow at some point in time, we got focused on just kids, which is not a bad thing. We definitely have to support kids and invest in our educational system. But an adult high school is now an opportunity for somebody who's over 18 to come back to school and pursue their education that they might have not finished for so many different reasons.
In Texas, it's my understanding you wrote the law on adult high school. Do you mind kind of shed some light how this came about?
Yeah. So a lot of the work that I have done from a policy perspective has been around poverty. And so it's the research on tax issues and criminal justice and just all the intersections of poverty. And education is the biggest differentiator of it. You have a higher opportunity to grow, to serve your family, to make a living wage when you have a high school diploma. It's a single differentiating factor, which is crazy to think about, something that I probably took for granted. You probably took for granted. A lot of people do. My kids, it's the expectation to graduate from high school. It's just not the case for so many families. We have in this state, we have over 7.4 million people without a high school diploma. And so the idea was we can either polish resumes or we can actually create transformational change and give people opportunity and access to change their lives. And that's really how this came about. And I was really lucky that I had my policy background, but I had some mentors who guided me through this, particularly a gentleman named Scott Bess, who started this work in Indianapolis. And he really inspired me of how to do it in Texas. And I had an opportunity working with Goodwill at the time where I had a great boss who said, go fix some things, do what you want. And gave me the space to do this work and to write the legislation. Being in Austin, I had access to the Capitol. And so I had a lot of supporters, but the idea was how do we, if it doesn't exist now, let's just make it happen. And that's really my philosophy, is just because somebody says no or it doesn't exist doesn't mean we can't try to change it.
I want to unpack that because, you said some gems in there that, I think might get lost when people are listening to this or watching this online. You said you saw a problem, an issue just during your day-to-day job.
Yes.
And you set out to solve it.
Yes.
That's just, it's admirable, but it's also not many people see a problem and say, you know what, I'm going to change the whole laws in the state of Texas to fix this. Were you scared? Were you nervous? Or kind of how were you feeling, doing this?
I definitely was scared and nervous, but that doesn't stop me. And so, yeah, I saw a problem, and it was intimidating at first because people laughed at me. They thought it was a crazy idea to get the state of Texas to pay for adults to go back to school. It had never happened before. But that was where it made me work harder. And what I learned actually is once you started having conversations with people and just unpacked what it meant and why it made a difference, everybody bought in. And they bought in really fast to the idea. And it didn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, young or old, people said this makes sense because it's one of those common sense ideas.
Gotcha. And so you started the first adult high schools in Austin.
I did.
And when was that?
So we passed the first law in 2013. And so we opened our first school in 2014. And we had Commissioner Michael Williams was TEA commissioner at the time. And he's actually from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he was a big champion of this. And I remember he approved us to open in April. And he said, but Traci, I want your school open in August. So we actually opened a school in a really quick turnaround, which I love that urgency. And that's now really how we operate, because when you're doing this kind of work, people need you to be urgent.
And so, you got started in Austin, but then you realize Fort Worth is the best place to be.
It is.
What led you to Fort Worth to opening New Heights?
The people in Fort Worth, really. I was approached by a couple of folks from Fort Worth. They came and found me in Austin. I guess they had been working on a whole plan. Fort Worth is really invested in education and career planning, and they have the Mayor's Council, just a lot of people working on this. And one of them asked somebody at the legislature, is anybody doing this kind of work? And they gave them my name and came down to Austin and pitched, what would it take for me to come here and do this work? And it didn't take much because the people here are just the investment they want to make, and the community as a whole, they're just so inviting. It's been a lot of fun.
And so, Fort Worth, we're a big community, if you will. We all consider ourselves family. Did you feel like an outsider when you came in, or were you embraced with open arms and provided the resources to succeed?
Yeah. No, everybody has been awesome. This has been so, I'm going to talk about Texas howdy, kind of that. People say it's a big town, but it's a small big town. And I was worried about feeling like an outsider of coming, you're coming from Austin. And not once have I felt like I wasn't welcome or the work that we were doing wasn't welcome. And so I'm really grateful that the community has embraced us. They have given us the resources, not just financial, but also just overall support for our work and on all of my staff. And so I'm really grateful to feel like this is my new home.
Gotcha. I know I'm personally familiar, but will you share with the audience, what were your expectations when you first opened the first campus for New Heights for that first year?
So we came in Fort Worth, again, fast, like I had done it before, where we were approved also in April, ironically, and we opened September 3rd. So we moved very quickly. And it was really important to me, being a quote unquote outsider, is to ensure that our staff represented the entire Fort Worth community. And so the first several months was building that staff and ensuring that they were embedded in the community and had the experiences and the understanding of what the needs were here. And we anticipated, okay, it's fast start, great staff, but maybe if we could get 300 students, that would be fantastic. And a couple months later, September 3rd comes around and we have over 600 students. And now we're at over 700 students. And so every idea I think that we had was shattered at every level of, again, how welcoming the people really embraced us. And again, on the community level, but also as a student level. And that's who I'm actually most grateful to, because you can't be a school without students and teachers. And we have amazing teachers and, again, students who are investing in their own future.
Will you talk a little bit about what is the adult's journey when they come into New Heights?
Yeah. So, what we've done with this adult high school, kind of going back to your first question, is that's an opportunity for students to come back and get their high school diploma. So much around adult education that we hear in this community or in the country, when you say adult education, it's GED, it's literacy. And that's important. But the opportunity to actually get your high school diploma, it's just different in terms of not only your earning potential, what employers are looking for, your college journey, career journey. And so at New Heights, students get to come back and get their high school diploma. And actually the journey is so different for each student because you might come in with 5 credits, somebody else might come in with 10 credits. And so we really tailor it personally for you and what you need, not only to complete your high school diploma, but pursue a career path. So if that's medical or IT or just whatever your passions are, we're going to try to help you figure out how to not only graduate with a high school diploma, but either a career credential or a job opportunity that will set you up for success. So again, every journey is a little different, but it's really about this journey of a high school diploma at your pace. We have a set schedule and all that, but students can take 1 class, they can take 4 classes, they can take it 2 days a week or 4 days a week. It just really depends on what they need, and they're balancing kids, their family commitments, jobs, and there's just a lot of nuance to being an adult learner. That's like things that our kids don't have to worry about, adults have to worry about.
Right. How are you addressing some of the, I'm gonna say, the barriers that your students have? For you mentioned childcare, you mentioned transportation, maybe even empty stomachs. Yes. How does New Heights address those barriers? So
we really believe that a student's going to be most successful when they're supported as a whole person. And you can't just take a student, an academic performer. You have to look at all the things in their life. And they're always going to choose, when things happen in those life, those things comes first before school. And so what we believe in is we have to solve for those issues. So we offer childcare support, which means that if a student needs to put their child in daycare so that they can come to school, we have providers that give them that service, and it's at no charge to them. Same thing as for transportation. Now, we can't solve every transportation barrier. I can't Uber every student to school. I'd love to if I could, but we provide bus passes, again, free of charge. And everything we do, I think that's important. The biggest barrier is cost. And so everything that we provide is at no cost to the student, whether it's their academic journey, any college classes they're taking, materials that they need, the technology they need, but childcare, the transportation. You mentioned empty stomachs. We're working right now on a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club about how to provide some meals to our students, because that's the reality of a lot of people, is that they are struggling on multiple fronts, and food insecurity is definitely one of them.
Is there any plans for expansion?
Yes, such a great question. We have our first campus open last year in Stop 6 community, and now we're moving to, we're going to be opening a second location on October 20th in Southwest Fort Worth off of McCart Avenue.
So how did the need for a second campus come about?
Student demand. We had a lot of students saying that we want to participate in your program, and we're really at capacity at our Stop 6 location, which is fantastic. But I never want to say no to a student. If a student says, I want to come back to school, I never want the answer to be, we don't have room for you. Because that's such a brave choice that they've made to say, I want to change my life. And so the idea was, how do we provide more access to people? And Fort Worth is big enough in the sense of geography where it's not always easy to get across town. And again, that transportation barrier. So we have to look at how do we provide increased access. And so that's, and then there's some just great opportunities working with Fort Worth ISD to locate a campus that would meet our students' needs, but also look at how to serve the community.
If a student, goes through and completes and obtains their high school diploma through New Heights, what can they hope for at the end of that journey?
I'd like to think that they're set up for success differently. They have more job options. And that's not even that. I would say it's choice. And that is, I think, the thing that I believe in the most is it's the greatest gift we can give people is choice. so many of our students, so many people in our community, they do things that they have to do things. They don't have the choices. And so when they come back to their education, we're opening the door. Now they can, is it this job or that job? Is it, I want to pursue medical versus I always dreamed actually of doing cybersecurity. But now they get to have those conversations and have those choices. And also, if they're making more money and supporting their children differently, now their children have different choices. And that kind of goes back to my whole thing on family. We are supporting a whole family. So it's not just our student who's coming back. It's what they're doing for their kids. And that, I think, is the game changer. Most of our students will say the reason they're coming back to school is for their children. And that's, how does one ever, it's amazing.
I think I remember one of the marketing videos where one of the students, he talks about what it means to be the father, the husband, and for his kids. And it resonates because I think, as you mentioned, we as parents, we want to, do the best that we can so our kids can see what success looks like, or they see that mom and dad finish a task and then they have something to strive for. And so do you feel that New Heights is also providing hope for family and for students?
I'd like to think so. That if we are, then we're doing things right. And based upon our student feedback, I think we are. They are creating opportunities for themselves. They're doing the hard work. We're not doing it. I mean, we're providing the resources and the teaching and all that. But students, really, they work hard. And I think they're driven by this idea of hope and opportunity and modeling for their children or for other family members. We have students who are bringing actually other family members, so cousins and sisters and brothers. And so they're inspiring others. And I don't think you do that if you aren't hopeful.
So I know the students at New Heights, they come from all different, background, from different kind of their journeys in education. Yeah. Is there kind of like a profile that you have kind of discovered to where, okay, our average student is 32 with 3 kids or things of that nature?
Yeah, we actually have. So we are open. Our school is available for students 18 to 50. But what we have seen is that our average student is about 29. They have been disconnected from formal education for 14 years. And I say formal because we're always learning, and everything that our students have experienced is relevant. And no matter what they've been doing, there has been learnings along the way, but they have not been in a formal academic setting for on average 14 years, which is, again, coming back to school after that. That's a hard, brave choice to make. And so all the supports we create are in alignment with that. But they have 70% of our students over 70% are women. So, and we have about a little over 90% really diverse. So a majority of our students come from diverse backgrounds. They are, most of them are parents. And 70% of them actually have kids in Fort Worth ISD. They range from, again, students that are coming in with having dropped out of high school before they even went to high school versus some who are so close to completing. And I think that's one thing that makes our program special is no matter what your journey has been, we're going to tailor it for you. So that's not something you need to worry about. You don't have to start over. Whatever your transcripts or academic background looks like, when you come to us, we're going to ensure that you have what you need to graduate as quickly as possible. And again, that journey is going to look different for everybody based upon your availability, again, your work commitments, because again, most of our students work. And so I think, again, one of the important parts of our program is the flexibility within structure, but flexibility to meet the needs of adult learners. And that's not something you find in a traditional school. And we have the capacity and the ability to meet those needs and really be student first.
Gotcha. I do have a question regarding like curriculum. I think about high school, world geography, algebra. Do you have, is the curriculum made up those traditional type classes, or do you also work in some life skills and other kind of skills and life lessons that, could help them in their current journey?
Yeah. All of the above. So we absolutely are required to offer Texas high school curriculum. So it's algebra, English, history. But what makes those interesting is that you're learning them, the normal curriculum, I would say. But what happens in the classroom is the conversation is different. So while you're learning, for example, history or government, the conversations that adults who've experienced life bring to that curricular conversation or that learning is very different than what you might find of a 15-year-old who hasn't experienced these things. And so while we have traditional curriculum, I think what happens in the classroom to learn that material is different because they're adults with experiences. And I think respecting somebody's experience, but also making it relevant to why am I learning algebra at 35 years old? Well, this is why. And so really having those conversations about relevancy too. So we do that, but we also really embed durable skills, which is kind of the new name for soft skills. So life
durable.
skills.
I was like, okay, durable.
Yeah,
Sorry to cut you off there.
Durable, it's the thing. And so there are durable skills that employers are looking for. It's been published. And so how do we embed all of that in traditional classroom, but also in all conversations? Because again, the idea is that our students have a better opportunity to get a job. And so we also embed in financial literacy. We embed in professional communications. And then we also have career and technical education classes. But we also have the part of the traditional curriculum that might surprise people is we still have to do PE and art and theater or, the fine arts, language. And so our students have opportunity for all of that as well. We have, over the summer, we had a choir class. And actually what was fun about that is we had our students, because we're a new school, part of that was the students wrote our school song. And performed it. And so they get to have a little fun too, where the work we do is very serious, but we like to create a lot of fun for our students too, because it's a big commitment they're making. And there are a lot of opportunities that they missed out on in high school that we want to make it not just about checkboxes for academics, but about community. And I think that's actually something that makes us incredibly special because our students have found a community of others who have similar life experiences, and they're not alone that they didn't finish high school or that they have these dreams, and they have a peer support network now that they might not have had before. And you see this in how they support each other. You see it in terms of our community activities. This week, actually, we're celebrating homecoming. And we
moms and garters.
All of that, moms, all of that. We a lot of activities. We actually, because our Stop 6 campus is right across from Dunbar High School, the Dunbar Band is coming over to perform. So really integrating the community. But just the students have embraced all that. We have celebrations. We have a prom. And you think about prom at an adult high school, well, that just is a reflection of the opportunities and experiences our students didn't have. And they want to, again, have that kind of whole 360 life experience. Right. And they own all that and they love it. And it's a lot of fun.
That's good. Is it fair to say that a lot of the students, they feel seen when they're at New Heights? Because sometimes society may outcast them or they don't feel seen because of, not having a high school diploma. Mm-hmm. But is it New Heights, goal to make sure that every student is seen?
100%. That's my personal philosophy that I put out to all of our staff is that no student should ever be invisible at New Heights. Most of the students who drop out in this country, the number one reason they will say is that they weren't seen, that they got lost. And I never want that to happen again. That doesn't mean it won't. We're not perfect. Right. But the goal is to make sure that everybody is seen, is heard, has an opportunity, has support that they need that they might not have had. We had one student recently who received an award and they were beside themselves in joy. They had never received an award. And their teacher gave them a big hug and said, "I'm so proud of you." And the response was, "Nobody has ever said they were proud of me before."
right? And so this is an adult who has not had this experience. And the fact that we can provide that to them or give them the space to have that. Like we're not creating that in a sense for them. They're earning that, but we're providing the space for them. And I think that is life-changing.
Oh, that's good. It sounds like New Heights has everything they could possibly need. You have all the resources, you have all the money, all the students and things like that. So you don't need anything. But hypothetically speaking, what does New Heights still need for not only the school to be successful, but for the students and the communities that you're impacting? What can the public or what could we do to support New Heights?
Thank you for asking that. I would say we don't have everything because you can't always have everything. I would say that I think it's really important to keep getting the word out that this opportunity exists. A lot of people don't know about that they can come back to school. So I think that the community continue to put the word out to students or to people, prospective students, that this exists, I think is the number one thing. But I also think that the other thing the community could really do is we are starting to really work with businesses and have conversations, because when you talk about what is after their graduation, it's about jobs and opportunity. And so the more that we can expose students to careers and job opportunities while they're in school, but then provide a runway for them after, because we have these great business relationships, I think that's something that, the community can really help. It's something that we are investing some of our time in. But I think the more people who know that we exist, not just from a student side, but also from an employment side, because that's, again, part of our commitment is it's about workforce. It's education and workforce linked together. And in our perfect world, our students are walking away with better job opportunities. But that means employers engaging with us.
Gotcha. So when we look up, 40 years from now and you finally decide to retire.
Hopefully it's less than 40 years, but.
How do you want to be remembered?
That's a legacy question. I want to be remembered as somebody who made a difference. I just want my work. If I look at it again from a family perspective, I spend a lot of time away from my children, and they support me 100% and are proud of me. So that I think gives me a lot of also pride that I'm doing the right things. But I want to know that it was worth it, and that I am setting up a world not just for them and their future and their children and all the people around them, that I have made a difference and given people opportunity that they might not have had. And even if that's a handful, when it's all said and done, I'm not going to touch millions of people. But if the work that I have done and that my staff, and an amazing team do, and we can continue to do that and inspire others to do it, then, and we have changed other people's families, then I'm good.
That's good. Well, I can tell you, we don't have to wait 40 years for that, because, I get to see firsthand the lives that you're changing, the difference that you're making, and not only, the students, but the community, but even the staff who are having the opportunity to make a difference. So thank you so much for having this conversation. Thank you for choosing Fort Worth for this initiative. And you have my support, and everyone who's listening and watching, make sure you support New Heights Adult High School in Traci. So thank you again.
Thank you, Ty. This was fun. I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. What a great conversation. We learned how Traci's experience working on Capitol Hill ultimately led her to writing the laws that establish adult high schools here in Texas. If you know any adults looking to obtain their high school diploma, have them check out New Heights. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like and subscribe. Otherwise, see you on the next episode of Take This Down.